Hello YouTube, my name is Matt and I play games. Before I even begin, I want to let you know that there is a contest that I will reveal at the end of this video, so watch to the end to see how you can enter a drawing for a free Steelbook. With that said, here's today's video. Even before I started this channel, I have been inspired by content creators in my personal gaming life. Whether that's playing a game I would have otherwise never known existed, I'm looking at you here, real civil engineer, or creating challenge runs for myself. Mystic and 3 Point Gamer both did X number of platinums in X number of days challenges, and that inspired me. And before you go throwing something at your screen, I know many other folks have done this. It isn't limited to these two, but these are the folks that inspired me to try it as well. I just never got around to it. Life happened. So, after creating my channel, I had an idea. What if, when I got to 10 whole subscribers, I would do a 10 platinum in 10-day challenge? After all, what's the worst that could happen, right? Right? Well, I flew past 10 subscribers, and then life happened. My job gets really busy after a hurricane, and we in Florida got hit by 2 in close succession. So, work became life for a bit. My 10 platinums in 10 days kept getting pushed back. So, I set a hard deadline for myself. I would do it the first 10 days of 2025, come hell or high water. And since we're out of the hurricane season, high water wasn't very likely. So here are the rules I set for myself. Rule number 1, the game had to be new to me. Nothing I've played before, and nothing I've popped any trophies in. Number 2, no shovelware. Now, I could dedicate an entire video to the philosophical musings of what makes a game shovelware. In fact, if you want to see that, let me know in the comments. But for the purposes of this video, shovelware is a totally brainless cash grab for a platinum. It's a press X 10,000 times kind of a game. So that means no My Name is Mayo, no stroking or jumping games, and no Crossy Road for good measure. Rule 3. I cannot alter or augment my life for this challenge. Firstly, I have a family, and I enjoy spending time with them. I am not going to let a challenge I set for myself in my hobby interrupt my real life. Secondly, it adds to the difficulty of the challenge to not set aside additional gaming time. Anyone could do 10 10-hour platinums easily if all they did was eat, sleep, and game. The challenge isn't how much time can I dedicate, but instead what can I do with the time I have. Number 4. This is going to be calendar days, January 1st through January 10th, not 240 hours from when the first trophy pops. There is absolutely nothing wrong with anyone counting time from the first trophy pop. Heck, that's how PlayStation does it, for goodness sake. But what could happen is there's a loophole that I would totally abuse, where I would set up several games to cascade trophies and then stop before popping any so that I get it all done in a few days. It ruins the point of the challenge for me. Number 5. I cannot stack any games for this challenge, which I would come to regret a bit, as 2 of them are enjoyable enough. I would honestly have done them twice just to play them again. But again, it takes away from the challenge. Once you've done it once, you know exactly how to do it again. Also, no auto popping. I'm not against it. I have an auto pop on Hogwarts Legacy. I hope to be able to do it again because, hey, if you work for that platinum, why not get 2 for the effort? We have lives here, folks. But again, I know me, and I would have set up 1 or 2 for an auto pop that just takes away from the challenge. No disrespect to anyone who's completed a challenge and had an auto pop. If I had to do this again, I would totally do it. I really would. So, with those rules in place, I eagerly awaited January 1st so I could kick the year off playing Back to the Future, the Telltale game for the PS3. Which, since I was going to start with Back to the Future, I bet you're wondering why I'm showing a short hike right now. Well, the disc I have for that game must be damaged because it won't play for me reliably. It'll take 20 minutes to load and then loop on a half second of an opening cinematic. I didn't want to have to troubleshoot beyond a quick clean and trying a few times. So, sadly, I moved on to another game, which is a short hike. I really like these chill indie games that just give you a vibe and a perfect serving size of fun. After I learned how to adjust the graphics to smooth out the image, it even quit making my head hurt. You play as a bird who takes a short hike up a mountain while on vacation. That's it. That's the game. Along the way, you meet other animal folks, participate in various things, grow stronger by collecting feathers, and do fetch quests. The platinum journey is basically getting to the top, taking a nap, eating some toast, and completing the all for various collectibles and minigames. I played for a good while on January 1st, and I didn't pop a single trophy. But I did make a sizable dent in the golden feathers to collect, fish to catch, plants to water, and races to run. So while my 2025 started off lacking on paper, I wasn't discouraged yet. I still had 9 days to go and plenty of time to turn things around. January 2nd started with a quick platinum. I decided to try another game since a short hike just wasn't popping trophies for me. So I jumped into what I thought would be the quickest platinum of the journey, just so I could get the ball rolling. Burly Men at Sea, which requires 12 playthroughs for the platinum. But each playthrough is more like 10 minutes, less if you save scum, which is what I did, heavily. You play as 3 burly men, and they're at sea. They live or die based off of decisions you make, and there are 3 main paths to take. And from there, they each branch into 2 separate paths. And from those paths, there is a live and a die ending. You just have to get each of the endings to unlock all the trophies. So I sat there with a flowchart of what to do and where to save to not have to replay everything. And I knocked the whole thing out in about an hour and 22 minutes. Yes, it was a quick game, but it was a certain kind of fun to see how your various choices affected the story. If you can get it for $1 or less, it's worth playing once, but I don't think anyone's going to be replaying it. Getting a bit of pep in my step from the easy platinum, I went back to a short hike and I knocked those trophies out. I made it to the top of the mountain, took my nap afterward, watered all the plants, found all the fish, gathered all the feathers, ran the races, and I ate some toast, which you can only do at 5 p.m. Fortunately, you can just change the system clock so you're not waiting for 5 p.m. to actually roll around. And this was honestly a fun game. I recommend it to anyone who wants to play something unique. It was genuinely enjoyable, and I would play it again. This platinum took a total of 5 hours and 11 minutes to obtain. Deciding I wasn't going to slow down, I started What Remains of Edith Finch, which I've heard from so many people is a great game. I have no hate for the game, or for those who like it, but it just wasn't for me. The walking sim aspect was fine, the pacing was okay, graphics were good, maybe even great. I just didn't care for the story, or the glitchy trophies. Basically, you come back to your childhood home and discover the secrets within. Every person that lived there had their own room, and when they die, the room is locked forever and a peephole is installed. You explore each room, and you learn about those who came before you. So I'm going to give you the trophies with absolutely no context, because I think that just makes things more intriguing for this game. And if you're curious about them, check the game out. Just because it was a miss for me doesn't make it a bad game. To platinum the game, firstly you have to play on PS5. The PS4 version doesn't have a platinum. The trophies you get are for looking through every peephole, catching 2 rabbits in 2 swoops as an owl, allowing a sailor to finish his drunken song before destroying him as a sea monster, knocking balls off of a pool table while you're in a horror movie, knocking letters off of a bathtub, finding a specific name during the credits. Side note, I watched the credits 6 times. I saw his name go past each time before the trophy popped. Replay one specific story arc with chapter select. Take a picture of a rabbit. Replay any story, which you can stack with the specific story, and finish all the stories. It isn't a bad game. It's just that I'm not personally into it. Fortunately, even with the buggy trophies, it wasn't a long game. Even though I basically had to replay the entire thing due to the trophy for looking in each peephole not popping on the first playthrough. I did ask online, and apparently I'm the only human being that has ever had a problem with glitchy trophies in this game. So don't let my experience put you off. Again, no hate for the game. It's just that not every game is going to register with every gamer. and I did get a fairly quick and easy platinum out of it. That wrapped day 2 with 3 platinums. I went from nothing to 30% done in the span of one day. And it was a great day for gaming and an even better one for this challenge. Day 3 started with Gris, which I knew I would enjoy visually. It's basically playing a watercolor painting, but I figured the story would be a miss for me since it's about a woman exploring her 5 stages of grief. Boy, was I wrong. Everything about this game is fantastic. I'm so glad that I decided to play it. In fact, I enjoyed it so much I'm going to go back and do it again. I would have immediately replayed it, but that breaks the rule for this challenge. No doubling up, no auto popping. You start off this game broken and limping in an empty and barren black and white world, which is an amazing analogy for grief. As you go through the 5 levels, which represent the 5 stages of grief, you slowly bring color back to the world around you. Each of the stages is unique both in design and gameplay mechanics. Along the way, you overcome denial, anger, bargaining, and the creature deep within all of us that wants to hold us in that state of grief before finally reaching acceptance. Trophies are earned for defeating stages, adding color back to your life, certain level specific tasks like avoiding sandstorms or breaking specific things, feeding apples to a friend you make along the way, avoiding being bitten during a chase scene, singing, and finishing the game. There are also mementos, which are basically collectibles that you leave there. You find them, get close to them, they light up, and are checked off your list. Finally, there's a trophy for finding your childhood memories after you find all the mementos. I highly recommend this game, even if you think it isn't your thing. The gameplay is solid, trophies make sense, and they're easy enough to find in one playthrough if you follow a guide. And the story is actually really deep for there not being a single word said the entire time. This is one of 3 games from this challenge that I think everyone should play if even one aspect of the game seems intriguing to you. That done, it was off to platinum the next game, and I picked Mikette, which was a big mistake. I know I mention this often, so I'm sorry for those of you who watch my videos. I don't mean to sound like a record on repeat, but I do have a list of things I don't like in trophy hunting. And it was during Mikette that I realized the theme for this entire experience could be, let's have Matt play games with trophy types he hates. So, I don't like trophies that require multiple playthroughs, missable trophies, multiplayer trophies, or speedrun trophies. Burly Minute C technically had 12 playthroughs, but thanks to save scumming I got it down to 4. What Remains of Edith Finch had missable trophies, and I missed all of them. But it did have chapter select for all of them other than the peepholes. And then there's Mikette. Was totally inspired by 3 Point Gamer for this. He did it on his 10 for 10 and it looked like a lot of fun. I tip my hat to you, Shaw. You're a way better gamer than me. Mikette has speedrun trophies. A lot of them. One for every level, as a matter of fact. The game itself was fun. I enjoyed it, but I couldn't get past one specific speedrun trophy, so I scrapped the whole thing and moved on to another game that I thought I would like. Day 4, I fire up Little Orpheus, and I begin playing, and I had a lot of fun, and I got about halfway through the game, but I did not get a platinum on this day. I've been meaning to play this game for about a year, and this was my opportunity to do so. The only reason I hadn't up until this point was the multiple playthroughs. But I figured between skipping cutscenes and watching YouTube videos while I ground it out, it wouldn't be that bad. Only to find out that you can't skip cutscenes and you have to pay attention to what you're doing so you don't miss collectibles that appear on your second playthrough. Despite that lead up, this was a great game. Beautifully made, beautiful graphics, and just a fun time. I don't know if there's a genre name for these kind of games that you go from left to right in an atmospheric, heavily scripted and coordinated environment, but if there is, this is a great example of them. In Little Orpheus, you play a cosmonaut with a name I won't even attempt to say, as it's physically impossible for me to do so. You're being interrogated by a commanding officer about a mission that you were sent on. When our plucky cosmonaut came back, with his ship lost, his records gone, and a nuclear bomb missing, named Little Orpheus. The game is our cosmonaut recounting his adventure after his ship drilled him all the way to the center of the Earth. Along the way back to the surface, he evades dinosaurs, a tribe of people captured and enslaved by an explorer that was lost at the pole decades ago, crumbling fortresses, and even finds the core of time and space itself. It's up to you to decide if he's telling the truth or not, but either way, we have to get him through his story. Trophies are earned for completing each of the 9 levels, and then for replaying them and collecting all of the orbs, which are not hidden in the slightest. They sit right in your path and glow. You just have to remember to press a button to collect them when you're close enough. As you collect the orbs, you earn storyboard art and costumes to wear on your journey. There are trophies for completing specific levels in a specific costume, and there are trophies for unlocking each costume. If you could skip the cutscenes on the replay, this would be a 10 out of 10 game for me. But sadly, you're going to be sitting there waiting for a good bit as the story is replayed for you. Still, I highly recommend this one as well. In fact, it's the 2nd out of 3 games I think everyone should play if even one thing about it interests you. I was 5 platinums in on day 5, but feeling the pressure at this point. I knew there was at least one day coming up soon that I wouldn't be able to play at all. So, I downloaded what was the closest thing to shovelware I played for this challenge, Bridges and Docks. There is no story. It's a sandbox game for building islands with bridges and docks. Trophies are for placing blocks, sheep, houses, bridges, a really high bridge, generating islands with specific requirements, generating a certain number of islands, placing grass, placing every type of animal on one map, changing the color palette, and building an island with no land, which was actually tricky. You have to generate an island complicated enough to slow the system down, and then delete the generator before the island can load in. I got it done in 30 minutes and 37 seconds. Do with that information what you will. I remember seeing an estimated time to beat of 2 hours, so I'm either a gaming savant or the guide is way off. And I'm going to go with the latter. But it was a platinum, and it was number 6, and it was done. January 6th was Undertale. Everyone raves about this game, and I can see why, but again, it was a miss for me personally. I spent 5 hours and 14 minutes to grab this platinum on a pacifist run without realizing you need to buy something specific or a particular boss would be incredibly difficult. So I probably spent an hour of that time on that one specific boss. Fortunately, I was able to get past her eventually, or this would have been another time sink without anything to show for it. As far as story goes, I don't really know. But it seems like you play a child that died or fell into the underworld and is trying to get back out. The trophies are fairly simple and essentially unmissable. Outside of finding the various locations unlocked as the story progresses, you will need to put 1, 2, 3, and 4 items in your inventory for 4 trophies. Other than that, you need to contribute 350 gold to the dog shrine so that it can level up a total of 15 times. After each level up, you need to leave the area and re-enter to see what is improved. Also, you have to contribute each coin individually and get through the text associated with the whole process before you can contribute another coin. It is a grind. But that's it. You don't even have to finish the game, which I did not. I got to the last location discovery trophy and I pieced right out. I can't personally recommend this game, but it isn't really my kind of thing. I can totally see why fans of old school RPGs go nuts for it. Glad I finally checked it out, even though it was a mess, and it was platinum number 7 done. January 7th was a busy day for me, but none of that energy was invested in gaming. I didn't even turn the system on all day, so it was a complete write-off as far as this challenge is concerned. January 8th rolled around, and I was again feeling the pressure. Technically, I was on pace to complete with no issue, but outside of how things looked on paper, life was getting busy and the challenge wasn't going how I envisioned it. I honestly thought I was going to be done by now and taking a victory lap by wrapping up a few extra games to show just how amazing I was as a gamer. I really wanted a PS3 Platinum on this challenge, so I threw in Terminator Salvation, and it didn't even read the disc. So I cleaned it and tried again, and it didn't even read the disc. Wash, rinse, and repeat a few times. So again, while the challenge was progressing, it wasn't happening the way I had planned it out a month in advance. I went ahead and shrugged this one off, and I went on to play Tinykin, which I've heard nothing but good things about and is free on my PS Plus membership. Except that it had been removed, and I really didn't want to pay full price right then and there, so I moved on with the ever-changing flow of my crumbling plan, and I fired up Call of the Sea, which was a game I was also really looking forward to playing. And I put a lot of work into the game, only for it to not pop the collectibles trophy for completing my journal, despite the fact that my journal was full and every guide said I had everything I needed. So while the game was fun enough for a walking sim, I can't recommend it for a platinum, as I can't get to that platinum. When I'm not under a time crunch, I'll try again, but honestly, I don't know what to do with this other than play the whole thing again, and ew, I don't want to do that. So that was about 5 hours of the day down the drain. Feeling incredibly defeated, I downloaded Nostalgic Train. Full confession, I am something of an amateur rail fan. Not the kind that goes to the tracks and watches trains pass by. I couldn't tell you any of the engine names or anything. But one of my favorite board games growing up was called Rail Baron. It's sadly out of print now, but if you find one, get it. I love the logistics of games with trains and rail travel, and I grabbed this thinking it was a game about nostalgic trains, but it wasn't. And that's okay, because it's a legitimately good game once you figure out how it works. There is apparently a very deep story to this game, which I completely skipped. Also, in skipping the story, I seem to have skipped the instructions and all useful tips on how to play. That, or it just never tells you how to play this game. You play as someone who arrives in a quaint Japanese village that's been totally abandoned. You have to press a button to see glowing orbs on the ground around you, and when you walk over said orbs, it advances the story. Once you finish the story for that chapter, you get back on the train. It loops around and drops you back off in the same town to find more glowing orbs for the next chapter. There is a sprint button, which is nice. Unfortunately, it took me to the end of chapter 3 to realize there's also a pause menu, and that pause menu tells you where the next orb is. So all that blind wandering around pressing the C button to find glowing orbs was time wasted. Once I figured that out, I flew through the story, which completing each chapter nets you a trophy, and reached the end of the game where you go back to the map and find more glowing orbs. This time they unlock a picture or a memory or something. Again, I skipped the story. I don't know. There's 24 of them, and each one of those 24 is a silver trophy. And that's it. Platinum acquired. So if you see the game on sale and you want a bunch of easy trophies, I recommend this. Actually, learn how the game is played, and I don't think you can get an easier non-shovelware platinum trophy. So that was Platinum 8 on the 8th. Even running around Lost for half the story or more, it only took me an hour and 13 minutes to platinum. Moving right on, I started up another game I was genuinely looking forward to playing, and another game I will go back and play again for another platinum trophy. Hoa. I think it's Hoa? H-O-A? We're going with Hoa. This game is an absolute feast for the eyes. It's akin to playing a Studio Ghibli movie. You play a something, a forest sprite, a spirit, a guardian, I haven't a clue. But you want to go somewhere to do something. Aren't I informative? Anyway, you move through gorgeous environment after gorgeous environment, platforming and finding butterflies to present to bigger forest creatures, who will then give you expanded moves and tools. There are technically 4 missable trophies for interacting with certain types of creatures in a specific way, but as long as you keep in mind that you have to do it, they're incredibly easy to get. Otherwise, all the trophies are story related and completely unmissable. This is the last of 3 games from this challenge I think everyone should play if they have even a passing interest in anything the game offers. The art is gorgeous, the controls work, nothing is glitched, and it's a pleasant way to spend an evening. That made 9 platinum trophies in 8 days, despite my best laid plans falling completely apart. Day 9 started early. I woke up at 4 a.m. and couldn't sleep, so I decided to get started on the last game of the challenge, Coffee Talk, which is another game I've heard nothing but good things about. Once I figured out how to adjust the dialogue so that it auto-skips everything immediately, it was a really fun game. And I'm not saying that to imply the story is bad, because I wouldn't know. I skipped it all. I just didn't have the brain power or desire to pay attention to story at 4 in the morning. I also wanted to make coffee and collect platinum trophies. So for me, this game was simply called Coffee, because that's what I was here for. You get trophies in Coffee Talk for completing the gallery, making all named drinks, trashing drinks, spending an hour in latte art, creating drinks, finishing various story arcs, replaying a day, which is required for all the story arcs anyway, listening to all the songs on your iPod, and serving 50 folks in one challenge mode run. There's a great guide on Xbox Achievements of all places for how to complete the challenge mode, and I got it on my first try thanks to their help. It was a fun game, and I walked away from it for almost 2 hours for the latte art trophy. I got busy doing other things in the real world and I kind of forgot about it. And even with that, the game was completed in 4 hours and 5 minutes. So, a quick one if you don't bother to read the tremendous volume of story they present to you. That means that before work on day 9, I was totally done with the challenge. I'd managed to grab 10 platinum trophies in 10 days. Well, 7 if you don't count the 2 days with no trophies and ending a day early. And while I'm glad I was able to get this done, it wasn't at all like I envisioned it to be. In my head, this was a clean and unbroken string of at least 10 games, maybe more, with no stress because they were all easy games. Instead, it was a constant uphill struggle against variables I never considered. And while I got it done, it isn't something I think I'll do again. Unless you, my subscriber, wants me to. Because content. So, now, about this giveaway. I have purchased a Persona 5 Steelbook for the PS4 North American version, and I'm going to send it to one lucky winner of this event. So here are the rules. First rule, I'm going to let this simmer for at least a week. That's 7 days from when it uploads. No more than 10. So we have between 7 and 10 days from now for you to complete this. We need to get this video to at least 10 separate comments. Comments can be anything good or bad, doesn't matter. We just need 10 comments on here. And yes, that means if only one person finds this video and comments on it 10 times, they're going to win the Steelbook. And I thank them for the engagement on this. Everyone that comments gets entered into a drawing for the Steelbook. I will use a name spinner, and whoever it lands on, I will comment under them that I need to contact them. I will get their mailing information and send it right out. I don't mind sending it to England or the EU either, but again, this is an NA pressing, so you'll want to have an NA system. This is going to be just for North America and England/the EU, though, due to postage costs. So I'm really sorry if you live in another area that isn't supported. I'm thinking future giveaways, I may just do digital credit. That way I can include everyone. With that being said, thank you for watching this video. Please like, comment, and if you have found value in what I'm doing, subscribe. Until the next one, YouTube. Oh, and if you are also thinking about a 10-day, 10 platinum challenge, go you.